So I started reading a new book. It is an arc. I could not remember what was in the summary of the arc, so I just looked up the summary to make sure that I didn't say anything that was a spoiler. Because I'm still very early into the book, but something really huge has happened, and I was like, is this a spoiler? And in doing so, I spoiled myself for 2 events I haven't gotten to in the book yet. But like they're in the summary, so I guess they're not technically intended to be spoilers, but whatever. Anyway, the thing that I got to is in fact a spoiler, so I can't talk about it. But it is called BLOODWEAVER, or The BLOODWEAVER, and it is about this world in which there's a type of magic called blood weaving, which is an interesting choice of name because you would think blood weaving would mean like blood bending kind of magic where like it's all based in biology and the human body, but it is in fact not just that. It can affect all manner of living things, including like trees. It came up 3 generations ago from the beginning of the story, but then it became this taboo because like improperly wielded blood magic can be extremely dangerous and volatile. And so it's now seen as like basically this dark, evil magic. And at the start of the book, there has been a movement towards testing and executing blood weavers. So like they have a way to test someone's blood to reveal if they are a blood weaver. This is a problem because, well, one, that's just a problem. You shouldn't do that. You should not execute people for how they are born. But it's a problem for our main characters. We are following a family of triplets. Emil, I don't know how his name's pronounced. Mel and Kirik. Mel is the only girl and the other 2 are boys. And they are like this kind of like they seem close knit but also like very bickery kind of vibes. Like they all get on each other's nerves and they all have issues with each other, but also they are like very much still family. And they're all orphans. Their parents, I don't remember how their parents died, but their parents are gone. And Kirik is concerned because he knows he's a blood weaver. He's been secretly training as a blood weaver. And so when these executions start happening, he's like, shit, that's going to be me. They're going to execute me. They're going to test me and they're going to execute me. So where I'm at right now, he has been thinking about running away and joining this like rebel group of blood weavers called the Ravelry. And then Mel is contending with, this isn't in the summary, but it is in like the very beginning of the book. Like it's one of the first things you read. She's very sensitive to things. And so she's wondering if this sensitivity is latent bloodweaver magic. And so like she's also very concerned about being tested. And then of course also concerned for her brother. And where I'm at, some very big things have happened. The family has endured a tragedy and it is unclear like what they are going to do moving forward because this is like a really, really huge blow to the family. So that's where I'm at. I think I'm like 14% in or something. I'm enjoying it so far. The writing is pretty good. I'm curious about, like, I think the world building is interesting. The way that the like politics and different locales are being laid out is a little bit confusing by times, but not at a level that I feel like I'm lost in the story. It's more at a point of like, maybe I should take a couple notes so I can remember which region is what and like who is from where. And like some of the different family names, but it's not impacting my ability to follow like the events or like the characters' motives kind of thing. I will say I am waiting on another arc right now. It is currently January 9th when I am recording this. The other arc I requested comes out, not January 9th, sorry, February 9th. What is time? February 9th as of when I'm recording this. The next book, sorry, I was having a moment where I filled out paperwork today. Did I fill out the right month? The book I requested comes out on February 10th, and it's February 9th. And I have not gotten a response on it either way. It's still a pending request. The point of an advanced reader's copy is that you're supposed to get it in advance of the book publication. So if I don't receive the copy before the book comes out, that's not an advanced reader copy. Now, is it? And like, maybe it'll end up being denied, but I'm so confused about why it's taking so long to get a response on this arc. Except I'm also not confused because I've requested an arc from this author before in this series and the exact same thing happened with the other one. So I guess that's just how they operate. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough rambling. I'm looking forward to reading more of this book. Hopefully I have time to read it sometime. This evening has been a lot, and so was yesterday evening. But we roll. We'll get there. I will leave this here and I'll update at some point. Okay, I am now 32% of the way through The BLOODWEAVER. I didn't read a lot during the week, but I did read a bunch this weekend. And what I'm running into right now is I'm not disliking it, but I'm not invested in a level where I want to just keep picking up the book and keep reading. I can kind of take it or leave it. And conceptually, there's a lot to be interested in. I am intrigued about like where is this going and what are these characters going to do to get out of the situations they're in. Mel and Carrick being in similar but separate situations right now. But I think the problem I'm running into is there's a thing in storytelling where the story needs to do this. And not just in terms of the speed of the scenes, you need quiet talking scenes, but also fast-paced or high-stakes scenes. It's not just that, it's also the emotional tone of the story. If you only ever have scenes where characters are stressed or panicked or grieving, the story ends up feeling, even though these are elevated emotions from a narrative perspective, you end up feeling like the story is all the same tone. And I think that's what I'm running into right now. I can really only think of maybe one kind of moment of levity, but even that, like, it was the backdrop of the scene, like the context of it and like the tone of how it was written, I could tell like there was dread in the scene, even as the actual subject of the conversations they were having was a little lighter and happier. It's tricky because it's not like you have to have comedy in a book or you have to have, sentimentality and joy and all this stuff. But for me personally, I find it harder to invest in a book if every time I pick it up, it's the same tone when I'm reading. It just gets tiring. Like I get reading fatigue, for lack of a better word. So I am struggling with that a little bit. And I'm also struggling because like the other book, I have two other stories that I'm reading right now. I'm reading The Count of Monte Cristo via audio, and I'm reading a self-published short story collection. And The Count of Monte Cristo is great. I am really enjoying it, but it's really long and it's very dense, and it's specifically audio. And the short story collection I'm reading is conceptually interesting, but the execution is not the best. So I'm in a position where I'm like, I feel like the thing that would help me read this is if I picked up another book alongside it that was much lighter, and then I could get that change of mood by switching. Because all the books I'm reading are really heavy. That's also the other thing. None of these are particularly joyous books. But I'm already reading so many that I don't feel like I can take on another book. So I'm struggling a little bit. But we roll and we'll figure it out. And maybe I'll put the short story collection on pause because it's the easiest thing to put on pause. It's short stories. And then maybe I'll try and grab a more lighthearted book instead. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe a novella or something. That would be really nice. And I will update when I've read more. So I'm like 40% of the way through The BLOODWEAVER. I might be DNFing another arc. I say I hate DNFing arcs, and yet I've just had really bad luck with arcs this year. And yet I've also had really good luck with arcs. Like my favorite book of this, not this year, but 2025 was an arc. Three of my favorite books of 2025 actually were arcs. But anyway, I'm just not that interested. Like on paper, what's happening in the story should be interesting. But I think my issue is that I don't really care about Kirik or Mel. And I think part of the issue with that for me is a little bit of what I talked about. I think I talked about this in my last clip, where everything feels kind of the same note all the way through. Something is always wrong and no one is ever happy or enjoying a moment of levity. Like, we don't even really get to see Mel and Kirik meaningfully interacting in a happy way as siblings. We saw it a little bit with Kirik and Emil, but not like I can't really think of a moment that happened with Kirik and Mel. And it just makes it hard to it makes it sounds weird. It feels difficult to be invested in or care about characters who I only ever see in conflict and crisis. And I think part of the issue too is that like there's some issues with the world building in that like I'm not clear on what blood weaving can do. And like the scene I just read, I didn't even finish reading the scene, but Mel was having a conversation with like a blood weaver, and the blood weaver was basically talking about how one could use blood weaving to make another person a blood weaver. Mel was like, oh, she hadn't considered blood weaving to be anything but a choice. She didn't realize that there were some people who were forcibly turned into blood weavers. And I'm like, okay, one, I at this point in the story didn't know you could make someone a blood weaver. I thought it was something you had to be born with. So for Mel to be reacting like a blood weaver forcing someone to become a blood weaver is new information, but becoming a blood weaver through someone else's blood weaving isn't new information, is like very like it was a lot for me to try to make sense of while I was reading. And this is like over 160 pages into the book, so like we've had plenty of space to establish that. It's also like there's some issues with like and part of this might be because I've been reading this very slowly over a period of time, but I've been having a hard time sometimes keeping characters straight. Sometimes it feels like maybe there's too many people, and like especially there's a lot of people and a lot of them aren't very established, or they kind of blur together. And I'm also not loving the writing. Sometimes there are issues with word proximity. So like I'll be reading a paragraph and it'll be like the waves rocked gently against the boat. Mel looked out and saw the rocky shore or something, and I'm like, rocked and rocky are too close together. Like I understand that they are different words and they're being used for different meanings, but they look too similar and are being used too close together, and it makes the sentences feel muddled when I'm trying to read them. There's also been moments where like I guess I can say it because it's not a spoiler if I don't talk about why this was there, but there was a scene where a character saw two coffins and it said the two of them sat side by side like bad omens or something. And I'm like, yes, looking like the coffins I could see as being a bad omen, but them sitting side by side is not like a bad omen. Like it's just something about the way the metaphor was constructed didn't work. It was like comparing the wrong thing, and like just issues like that throughout. And I don't know, I'm just like I keep feeling like I'm waiting for the story to settle into itself and be what it's going to be, and the whole time it just feels like we're still moving toward what the story is supposed to be, and I just haven't been able to get invested. So unfortunately I don't know if I'm going to finish reading this book. I have 40 days to finish it, and I did the math and like I only need to read like 5 or 6 pages a day to finish. But I just don't know if I care. So I don't know. If this is the last clip, then this is where I'm ending the book. And that's unfortunate because I did really want to read this. But whatever. I've already spent so much time stuck on this book, and I want to get to other things. I want to read other things. So I think it might be in my best interest to DNF and just pick up a different book. But anyway, if this is indeed the end of the video and you've watched this far, thank you. Please leave a blood or bone emoji in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!